So as you get started with modeling, one of the most confusing areas within Blender can be the menu system and actually figuring out where you actually can perform modeling actions. There's a lot of pop-up menus. There's a ton of different menus. So this chapter is going to be a breakdown on how to actually understand this stuff better. So you can understand there's a hierarchy system to Blender's interface that'll help make things easier to find and make a lot more sense. So the first menu system that we see up here is right here. This menu system is going to change every single time we go from object mode, edit mode, and sculpt mode. So edit mode and sculpt mode are we're going to be spending a lot of our times actually performing modeling operations on this. So object mode is basically everything that belongs to the actual object itself. Edit mode is going to be actually modifying the object itself. And then sculpt mode is going to be modifying the object itself as well, but doing it in a sculpt mode. So we're going to be spending most of our time in edit mode. We'll spend a little bit of time in sculpt mode as well. So as soon as I go over to edit mode, you'll notice that we get a different menu system up here. We also get a pop-up menu that's happening right here. So to break this down, you can think of these icons over here as shortcuts to things that you can find in here. So this is going to be the long way. This is going to be the short way. On top of that, what can get more confusing is if we right click here, we can see that we have a different menu. And this menu looks very similar to what we see up here. So to break this down, we have the face context menu. And if I change this to the vert mode, so we have vertex context menu. So this can be even more confusing. If you go to edge mode, we have an edge context menu. And if we go to face, you might think face context menu is going to be the same thing as our face menu up here, but they're not. So to understand how this menu system is working is when you right click on face mode, you'll see the face context menu, and this will be all of the operations that we can apply while we're selecting a face. Okay, so these are all the face operations. These are all the operations that we can apply on a face. So this is basically all the different operations that we can do right now with our current selection. If I go to edge mode and right click, these are all the operations that we can do while selecting our edges. So the right click menu is really what can I do menu, right? This is going to be everything. This is going to be what can I do right now? And this is going to be hotkeys or quick shortcuts for things that you can find in here. Okay. So you'll be seeing me spend a lot of time in this context menu. And another area that's going to be even more confusing is going to be pop-up menus. So we have things like this where we have Alt-M. That's going to be our merge menu. So we have that, and we have things like X. We have things like P. All these individual menus. And it can be really confusing when you're first getting going to understand, okay, where are these menus coming from, right? Well, if I do X, for example, this delete menu, we can actually see right here. And you can see we have the hotkey right there. So basically any of these menus that have a hotkey next to them, Alt-E for example, is going to be a hotkey to get access to just that menu. So any pop-up menu you can always find right here, but a quicker way to work is just going to be right click and then we have everything right here. So even those like P and a lot of different operations that we can apply just to faces will be right there. So that was a broad look at how just the menu system works. So a couple other areas we'll be spending our time modeling is going to be in the properties tab right over here. So the first one is going to be just object properties itself. So this is going to be things like position, things like visibility, stuff like that. The modifiers tab, we're actually going to be modifying the object itself. So you can think of this as a procedural non-destructive workflow. So any operation that we do in here, so I just added a subdivide modifier. This is essentially a non-destructive way to perform different modeling tasks. Because you'll see here, again, like things like subdivide. A lot of these different operations are also going to be available in our edit menu. The difference is these are going to be non-destructive. So we can add them, change them, delete them. And you can think of this as an operation that's being performed on top of our actual model itself. So non-destructive modeling. And then we have things like our object data properties. So these are going to be things like if we add in a cylinder, for example, and if I just do shade flat or shade smooth, we'll have things like the normals in here. So if we want to auto smooth those normals, those types of properties will be in here. And when we get into like curve and spline modeling, there'll be a ton of different operations in here that we want to get to know. So from there, we're going to start taking a look at the most common hotkeys that we're going to want to work with while we're modeling.